you very much. Good evening. How are you? Well? Delighted to be here. I really am. I should explain one thing before I go any further. I am not a very mobile comedian. I'm aware I've got a large stage and a very large auditorium, and yet I will not be addressing the extremities of the front row to any degree whatsoever. I do apologize. It's nothing personal. I actually have medical condition which warrants this immobility. I went to see a doctor about it quite recently. Indian chap. Well, they call it Indian chap. It's just nappy rash, really, but it's... I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 49 years of age. I live on the South Coast with my wife, 14 years. That's the period in which we've been married, obviously. And let's make that absolutely clear in the current climate. I met my wife about 14 years ago. We got married quite quickly. Unfortunately, we left it too late to have children. But we went ahead and had them anyway, which was a mistake in my view, but there we are. Couple of children. We've had an interesting trajectory through the British Isles. I met my wife. I just bought my first flat. It was just north of King's Cross, rather disreputable area in North London, famous red light district. And it was true. We had prostitutes right outside our own front door, which is handy, some of you are thinking, but believe me, you don't want to shit on your own doorstep, which is a service they offer, incidentally. And I was shocked, to be honest, by how brazen they were. I suppose you have to be in that line of work, but I came out of my door one day. A woman came up to me and said, "You looking for business, love?" I was quite clearly dressed for tennis. It was embarrassing, but then she's plucked up the courage to make the first move, and I'm a gentleman, so it's a difficult situation. They were a distraction to tradesmen as well. I remember very clearly, I ordered plasterers in to do the place up when we were trying to sell it. Well, I looked in the yellow pages for plasterers. I think I may have ordered piss takers by mistake. They would be next to each other alphabetically, I assume, and 400 quid a day for what is essentially glorified cake decoration. Spend most of that time sitting on the front wall chatting up prostitutes and talking about somebody called Rigsby, as if I'm supposed not to guess who they're talking about. Few of you remember that. I've been told throughout most of my life I resemble Leonard Rossiter when I speak. I don't know if it's true. I have one or two... I get it a lot. You do when you're a stand-up comedian. I've had one or two more flattering ones. One woman told me I remind her of Ralph Fiennes, another that I reminded her of Sting, who is a twat, but a handsome twat, so I'll take it. Within a week, somebody else had told me I reminded them of Sandy Toksvig. Shortly after that, I began to experiment with the beard, but... It's interesting. I mean, I quite like gritty urban areas, to be honest. It makes your own life seem quite desirable by comparison. King's Cross certainly fitted that bill. A lot of homeless people on the streets, or possibly just outdoor lager enthusiasts, but they seem to be very committed to it if they did have a home to go to. As a rule, I don't want to tar them all with the same brush, although if you sleep on the road, that will happen sooner or later, but... I do think it's a bit ironic. The favourite drink of the homeless should be a beer called Tennant's. That must rankle, mustn't it? The trick is, as it is with all commerce, of course, is to make people think they're buying into a lifestyle they can't really afford. And we all fall for it at every station in life. I recently bought myself a diver's watch. Ridiculous affectation. I have no need for it. It's covered in dials, good for up to 100 metres of water pressure. It's got a shark-resistant strap. I think, to be honest, if all he wants is your watch, it's probably best to let him have it, really. I'm no expert, but they're fairly ferocious negotiators, aren't they, the old sharks? I think only a fool would allow an argument to escalate over a watch. Can't seem to bite through this. I know, I'll try the arm. I don't know, never faced a shark. The only diving I ever do, it's considered very bad manners to check your watch. Must admit the luminous dial has come in handy, but that's more coincidence than planning. If I'm 100 metres deep, I'm getting out of there, which, of course, is unlikely to happen, because I'm a happily married man, so let's be clear that that's an entirely hypothetical scenario. I am happily married, and I've made a good choice of wife. She actually moved in as a lodger initially. I remember it was about, let's say, 13, 14 years ago. My wife moved in as a lodger. And one week the rent fell a bit short, and one thing led to another, and There we were in a dance as old as time. That's what you had to do in the days before internet dating, you see. Set a bit of a honey trap. Cash point at this time of night around here? I shouldn't think so, no. But it was wonderful. To be honest, it was a lovely time. It was a golden age. You don't always know when you're living through them, but looking back, I remember she was very accommodating. My job isn't the easiest one for somebody to accommodate in their life. I'd get home late at night, but she'd be waiting up with a bottle of wine. That was nice. And Sunday morning, she'd let me have a lie-in. We might share a pot of coffee over the Sunday papers, then walk hand in hand through a craft market, something like that. Looking back, it sounds a bit shit, I realise, but at the time, filtered through the haze of romantic infatuation, it seemed very agreeable. So I proposed, and she accepted. We got married. She said, let's start a family. And I said, of course, darling, because I didn't think it through. Next thing you know, you're running a small, badly funded correctional facility together, aren't you? That's all it is. However much various commercial organisations dress it up. Imagine you started a small business with somebody, it goes well, you move into profit, you open a second branch, everything is going swimmingly. Suddenly, one day they turn to you and say, this is good, isn't it? What do you say we get a troop of baboons in to run the post room? That's the equivalent. Let's see how that goes. I'm sorry, I can't pretend otherwise. I resent their presence in my life, I do. They are nice enough kids. Objectively, but why do they have to live with me? It makes no sense at all.